And I think the date is the 19th. I believe it is. December 19th. You can see that we're exceptionally festive in the North Country of Maine. And this is my favorite time of year, mostly because I get to bring a tree in the house and put lights on it. And all of my ornaments are family ornaments, and so I get to have this whole nostalgic experience. And I love decorating the house, etc. So I figured I would pull all of that in to kind of round out the ambience of the podcast, which is why you're probably more focused on the tree than you are on me. It is slightly snowing, and there are a ton of juncos in the yard. They're tiny little birds. They're winter birds, and they're all slate colored on their backs with little white bellies. I'm going to try and turn the camera and see if I can get them, because they're exceptionally darling. I'm not sure how that's going to go. So let's see. If I turn the camera, I'm kind of boxed in here. Let me see if I can find any of them for you. Oh, here we go. Any luck? Oh, there's one. Let's see. So they love to be under the picnic table, and they're ground feeders. I don't have them all the time. Oh, rats. Oh, there's one. And so I'm really pleased when they do come. And you can see it's just a little flurry. I'm getting ready to leave for my parents later today, so I'm just kind of waiting for this snow to end. So I do end up, when I feed my birds, I do end up, let me see if I can, sorry if you're feeling the pain of motion sickness. Oh my gosh, look at that, spot on. Spot on, as Louise would say in Scotland. Came and went. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, the birds. So I have elevated feeders. I feed under the picnic table for protection. I have platform feeders out. We call it the altar because we have it stacked on bricks. That's got a lot of protection. So I have a variety of areas where the birds can feed. And I try to feed every morning. And then when we leave, we do have someone come, top up, feed, check on the house, just to keep the habit and the pattern, and that the birds know they can get food here. So anyway, that was a little digression to the introduction, but welcome. You are most welcome. I have been listening to Thistle and Shamrock, which is a radio show out of Scotland. It's on my public radio station on Saturday nights at 8, but you can also stream it live. And she has Thistle Radio, which is just streaming and on the internet. And so I've noticed on her shows, she always starts with, "You are most welcome here." And I like that. I love that word. I'm feeling that word more and more in this world, that you are welcome and we are most welcome here. So let's get started and talk a little bit about fiber and yarn and knitting projects. So first, like I said, welcome, and that is to both new and returning viewers. And I have had a few people introduce themselves on the boards. I've been a bit of a recluse. I've been a little bit AWOL, I have to admit. And so I haven't had a chance, or I haven't made time to attend to some of these other pieces out there in my life. And this happens to be one of them, which is the welcome board and the boards on Ravelry. So I wanted to make sure that I highlighted those who've made a point to introduce themselves. And I'll be talking about the Shackleton a little bit later on. So yes, so I have reconvened. I have finished my semester. I am regrounding myself and trying to get ready to establish a new routine in January. This particular routine, I know I'm digressing again. I'll be living back at home, well, this home, and commuting about an hour and a half, 4 days a week down. And so, but I think being in one place will help me feel more organized. Thumbs up, fresh fingers. That being said, I do have show notes. It's been so long, so I wanted to make sure I touched on certain things. The first is I wanted to welcome Shoaz. She introduced herself in the group. She is a shepherdess wannabe, and she just started spinning in May. And so welcome. There's that word again. And she actually, I think she talked a little bit about her birding aspirations and how much she enjoys birding. And she hikes in the Grand Canyon. And she describes in there a little bit how they'll come down and land on her. My husband actually has a knack for that. He can call in chickadees, and they have actually like gotten very close to him. So when we were up skiing in Quebec, we were in the Chick-Chocs, which is a park in that area, a wildlife. I think it's called the Gaspé, and the Chick-Chocs are a reserve within this Gaspé Peninsula. So we were skiing, backcountry skiing, and I had never seen boreal chickadees before. And boreal chickadees are a little bit different than black-capped. And these are little tiny birds, songbirds. Black-capped chickadees, as I say, they're kind of gray and they've got little black caps. But the boreal chickadees, ho, look, I happen to have my handy dandy copy of the Sibley Guide. I don't leave it very far without it. So the boreal chickadees live at elevation, so we don't often see them, down here at sea level, which is pretty much where we are in Maine. So when we were hiking up there, we were at elevation or skiing up there, and I got to see these boreal chickadees, and it was one of my greatest birding moments. And we stood there, and he called them in. They just kept getting closer, and this big flock getting closer and closer, and they're very. Actually, most songbirds, they tend to have this very chipper personality, so it was really wonderful to experience them and their most welcoming attitude. I was going to see if I could find a picture of a chickadee so you guys could have a visual. Those of you who are listening, like I said, the black caps, these are black cap chickadees. And then there's varying phases as you move geographically across the United States. So this is predominantly the U.S. And then the boreal chickadees are very pretty. They have a little bit different color scheme, and they have this beautiful fawn bit on their chest right here. The boreal chickadees. So you can see wherever I see a bird, I try to write it down and the date. So anyway, another digression. Let's see. Welford Pearls introduced herself. She has the Wool and Spinning podcast, which I would highly recommend. And I have teased her a little bit about. She just doesn't podcast enough for me. Right now, she is on a once-a-month schedule, but it's a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black. It's hard to complain about somebody not podcasting enough when you can't do it yourself. But I only say that to reinforce how much I enjoy it and how informative it is. She predominantly focuses on spinning, different fibers, how to spin. She has some tutorials. And so I would recommend that podcast for sure. I have in the past. One thing that I learned about her from this board is she was born in northern BC, which I need to go look at a map. But man, when I think about British Columbia, I'm already thinking northern and then to say northern BC. So I need to go check that out. We also had, I think it's Lucky Pluck. I have Nitty Pluck. I don't know why, but Lucky Pluck introduced herself. I believe she's from Vermont. And she raises heritage breeds up there. I think they're CVM Ramadel. And so she took a moment and introduced herself and some of her other fibery pursuits and bakery pursuits. And then I had Simum. She introduced herself, and she is a spinner and is looking to work with fleece and find spinning to be her meditation time. So I would highly agree with that. So welcome. Thank you so much for introducing yourself and offering a little bit of insight into who's out there and investing in the podcast and the content. So with that being said, and my whole bird digression, which I'll try not to digress again, but maybe I'll show you a picture of the Juncos, seeing as I have my bird book here. And I only am doing this because somebody happened to mention that they enjoyed the birding piece. So now I'm like, birds. And it's not often I get to, nope, I'm going to let it go. I'm in the warblers, and they're not here right now. All of our warblers have migrated. So winter birds for us are chickadees. We have red poles. We have American goldfinch. And these are all songbirds. They're all hardy songbirds. and perhaps I'll be able to give a little bit more description of those on another podcast. So I'm not gonna go there. It's not in the show notes. So finished objects. So we're gonna start with the ultimate finished object, which is the cockatoo braid. And it's finished. It's steeked. The only thing I haven't done is put the buttons on. I am taking Kate Davies' advice. I'm going to line buttons and snaps because I'm thinking I probably won't wear this as a cardigan. And so I just want to be able to snap it and have it look nice and neat. This really brought out for me contemplatively that I don't really wear cardigans, and I like the way they look, but I don't like that they hang open, or, you know, so I was thinking about that with this particular sweater because I'm getting ready to knit. I'd like to knit the Epistrophe cardigan. And so I was chatting with Sarah Lake of Upton Yarns about just converting that to a pullover because I would probably wear it more and enjoy it more. So anyway, I do like this, don't get me wrong. I love the way it looks, and I like the way the color work turned out. This is Tide, the Tide base by Nash Island, or Starcroft yarn, and it's Nash Island wool off the coast of Maine. And here's my steek. I did a reinforced steek as Kate Davies' tutorial. I wasn't 100% happy with how it turned out, and I think that just might be because I've never done it before. So you can see that it gets a little bit wiggly here, and I think she highlighted that that's from crocheting into the same stitch. So anyway, I did attempt to make that a nice, neat, non-bulky edge. I'm going to take the advice of New Hampshire Knits, Claire, and I'm going to line it with a ribbon, and I just got the ribbon, which is part of the reason that nothing's been moved on this. I finished this October. So I have two ribbons, but this is the original one that I was thinking of putting on. I ordered this from Hawthorne Threads. But this is the one I ordered because I just loved it so much. This is Bonnie Christie, and she has a whole fabric line out about that, and I'm just not sure about the gray and the brown, but, well, the owls are brown. I don't know if that's helpful. Anyway, so that's where that is. I knit this on a US 3 Nash Island Kate Davies Cockatoo Braid from her Yokes book. So, 9 o'clock? 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. We'll let that finish chiming. Wow, that's a long 10. Done. So I finished that. I couldn't think if I had any other finished objects, and so I just have that, I think. Anyway, I'm going to move on to works in progress. Let's see. So I finished that sweater and I cast on another. I enjoy sweater knitting. And so I'm working on the Tucker sweater by Amanda Schusker, and that was in the fall edition of Interweave Knits 2015. And it's a basic yoke with a cable. I actually have a picture of it. So, and it's knit bottom up, and then you join, like traditional yoke, you'll join the sleeves. So I am knitting this out of a Maine Yarn and Fiber Supply custom yarn. So whoever she procures fleeces from around the state, turns it into yarn, and it's a one-time run. And so I happened to pick up this, and we think this is 100% Lincoln, and it's just, I mean, it's so lovely to work with. And what you really can't appreciate on camera is the weight of it, the density. We use it with dogs, like a thunder shirt, same idea. And that's what this feels like to me. So I always feel like, oh, when I get this on, I'm gonna, all my anxiety will go away. So again, this is a Lincoln. I would call it a heavy worsted, almost an Aran. and I believe it was spun at Stonehenge Fiber Mill in Michigan. And I bought the lot. Well, my mom bought the lot for Christmas for me. So I had knitted, finished the sleeves, and I had worked on the bottom, and I had gotten to the point where I was supposed to start decreasing, and I realized I didn't have enough stitches. I don't know how that happened. So I'm knitting the 40 on a US 8, and I'm just a little bit slight on my gauge, which is fine with me because I didn't want a 40, so I think it's going to be just a smidge smaller, and I'm fine with that. So anyway, I haven't put much work into that lately, and I had knitted most of that in class and on the road. That was kind of my traveling. So that's going with me south. Although I've been hankering, for some littler projects, and I'll talk a little bit about that in acquisitions. I also have on the needles, and I haven't made any progress on this because I've been so scattered, and I just haven't been able to, I need a weighted vest. I just haven't been able to calm down and pull in my thoughts. This is Taliesin Shawl by Lucy Haig, and I'm knitting this out of alpaca and wool, so it's an 80% wool, 20% alpaca. I picked this up at Northern Solstice Alpaca Farm, and I love the way I love the color. It's not white, it's this beautiful like crew oatmeal color, and you can see that it's the shawl is designed as a big Celtic knot, and so there's all these kind of intricate Celtic cables that proceed to get larger. So you start with like, you know, a garter tab, and you're knitting out and expanding on either side and in the middle. So you kind of have a spine and then adding stitches on either side. I love this project. Again, I just haven't been in a space to make sure I have the pattern, because you do need to see the charts, and it takes a little bit of mind, attention. Not like lace attention, but I've got to be able to get to the information on it, and so this always happens when I'm traveling or I'm at my parents' or what have you. So the other thing I have on the needles, and I'm kind of wrapping up, which is great because it's a gift, which doesn't happen very often, as you know, is the Mikado Cowl by Susan Ashcroft. I'm knitting this out of Ye Olde Salt. I wish I had the tag. Which is from the Net Loft in Cordova, Alaska. This is called Starfish and Sea Otters and Starfish colorway. And here is the cowl. I love this cowl. It's the second time I've knit it. It knits up fast and highlights all sorts of different types of yarns. So there it is. So that's going to a new home, to a friend who is a seamstress, so I know that it will be loved and appreciated and worn. So that's all the works I have in progress for knitting. Let's see. For spinning, of course, I left my spinning over there, so if you hold on just a minute, I'm going to grab my spinning and my sewing. Of course. Hi, buddy. Coco's on the other side. Doing good. All right, now that I'm just that much more organized, I can dodge into my space. So for spinning, I've been working on spinning up some herdwick, that a friend from Britain brought over for the retreat. I've talked about this before on the last episode. I did a little ditty on herdwick, the history of herdwick. So I have finished one bobbin. This is my second. I'm really enjoying the color of this particular fleece. And I'm also very much enjoying the Kemp. So Kemp is it's not wool, it's not fiber. It's indicative of primitive breeds. Let's see if I can pull up some Kemp for you. Is it gonna not focus? So the Kemp is kind of this wiry hair, and that's what it is. When I'm spinning, it kind of goes everywhere, but I like that it reminds me historically of where the sheep has been, and so it hasn't really been a nuisance at all. But when I'm spinning this, I have a spinning cloth in my lap to catch all that. Although I've got these two dogs, one of which is an Anatolian Shepherd, Coey, as you know, and he sheds like a banshee, like really fine undercoat, and he has got a significant undercoat. These dogs, both, Fern and Co, both started out living outside, so they adapted and then had these amazing coats. And so then when I brought them in to the house with the wood stove, I think they were like, poof, they just wanted to blow their coats all the time. So anyway, he is patiently sleeping. When I give you a little shot of him, because he's just really adorable. You say hi, buddy? Nope, just the eyebrow roll. Just the eyebrows. I'm going to try and do some editing, though. Get a little view of the pond and the squirrel on my screen. There he is. I don't know why they do that. He always jumps up on that screen and scares the bejesus out of me. You know, just gently sitting there and then, sorry, I'll do some editing. We're just a little bit today. So I'm spinning that, and that's really been my focus. I am spinning that for Knit British Swatch Along, and I'm very pleased that this doesn't have a deadline per se, because wouldn't be able to reach it. So that's ongoing, and on her blog she has a list of criteria and how you are to approach this experiment. And so once I get this spun up, I'm going to 2-ply it, and I'm going to knit it into a swatch, and then I'll follow the criteria. I am going to probably take it out of its swatch when I'm done, and I have a loose set. Next time I podcast, I'll be talking about loose sets and how to do it, and I think I'm going to use this on the loose set and make some cordage. Anyway, that's for another show. So that's spinning, so that's really it for the working end of this past season. And I'm going to go into acquisitions and discoveries. This is a combination of spinning and yarn. So fiber and yarn. Sorry, I got distracted. So let's just dive right in. Sarah of Upton Yarns was able to procure a clip from somewhere in Mid-Coast area, I think like Warren, Maine. And they raise blue-faced Leicester. And this just came back from the mill, and it is exquisite. I think it's a 2-ply. It's a 2-ply, and she has a series of different colorways. They're all on her website, and I would recommend, if you have a little extra spending money from your holidays, or you're getting something from your holidays, this would be a real treasure. So she did this green, and then I didn't want a white yarn. This is to knit the Epistrophe by Kate Davies, which is a yoke sweater. The yoke is kind of a geometric pattern, and then there's nothing else on the rest of the body. So the geometric pattern would be done in this kind of green-blue tonal, just kind of subtle shading, and then the rest of the body would be done in this oatmeal-y color. She calls this silver birch. Getting a little blown out with the light, but this was a white skein and she over dyes it, so it's actually the perfect ecru kind of oatmeal color. So I'll do these two with Kate Davies Epistrophe as a pullover. So I was really psyched to get this in my stash. I had been thinking about it since she sent that clip out, and knowing that I wanted to add it to the collection. But she has a range of colors available. Stuff's just so much fun to have local blue-faced Leicester. The next step is, this came back from the mill, from Maine Yarn and Fiber Supply, and she generously gave me a skein. I had, Jody and I, she's the owner of One Loop Bed and Maine Yarn and Fiber Supply in Bangor, Maine. we traded for my fleeces. So I got this really spectacular spinning stool that I'm sitting on. They're made right here in Dover Foxcroft, just down the road. And they're perfect for spinning, with the perfect height, really good support and posture. So anyway, we did some bartering, and we sent little girl's fleece off to the mill and Rose's fleece. So she had those both done in a Lopi. It was really exciting. This is a new mill in a rustic county called the Rustic Fiber Mill, I think. And he was able to spin Lopi style, which is really awesome to get a local Lopi out of Icelandic yarn. So this is 115 yards. And this is, I think this is Little Girl. So my sheep Little Girl is more of a gray. And then Rose is white with black spots. So hers is a light gray, and then Little Girl's dark. Well, I say darker, but. So anyway, I am really chuffed with the way this turned out. And I have 2 or 3 fleeces that I think I'm going to send up there and have him process for me. Just in the sake of time, because those girls obviously are growing more fleece as we speak, which they'll probably end up going to One Loop Bin. This yarn is available. If you want some Fiber Trek yarn, you can give Jody a call. So really exciting. She also has Little Girl's fleece from last year in a gorgeous fingering singles. Stunning. I have some of that, but I can't find it. I think I packed it away. So that's really fun to have my own sheep fleece spun up and for sale somewhere, going off to people. And those of you who did invest in the singles, thank you so much. That was so much, it was just fun to have people getting excited about that fleece and having it go off to Virginia, and even my friends here in Maine getting excited about, you know, Fiber Trek yarn. So some of the acquisitions I got at the retreat, which I wasn't able to tell you about, I think because I either left them upstairs or I was podcasting from my parents, is I got this Masham from Happy Debs. Same friend who brought the Herdwick. So I'm really looking forward to spinning this. This is Hilltop Cloud. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Manx Lockton. Manx Lockton from Hilltop Cloud. So, yay. Excited about that. Which is why I want to get the Herdwick off. I also have 3 bags full of Nash Island. Actually, it's Flat Island charcoal to spin too, which I really want to get back to. So, and then I picked this up. These are bats from my friend Michelle of Bybrook Farm. Oh, stunning. This is our neighbor's sheep. This is Persia. And we don't really know what Persia is, but what we do know is that her fleece is exquisite. This looks like the inside of a shell, this gray. And it's just so lovely, and the way the light's reflecting off that luster. So I got, it's almost like a rose gray too. There's a little bit of like a subtle brown undertone. So I got 4 ounces of this to spin. I also got half a fleece from Michelle, Jody of One Loop In, and I split a fleece. We split Malunkus, gorgeous kind of matte black Romney, and I guess what I mean is like it's like a chocolate brown versus like a charcoal gray, and that's upstairs. I didn't bring it down with me, so I have half his fleece upstairs ready to go. I know. So let's see. What else? And then a gift from Dew in Michigan. She flew out to the retreat and brought some of the Lester Longwool that she had prepared. I think it's from her friend's farm. These gorgeous combed nests of Lester Longwool. I mean, come on. I am such a Lester Longwool fanatic. And I also have my gray Lester Longwool to do. So I have been watching Helen Stewart's Knit Vent unfold and been really excited about some of the patterns that are coming out. And I have the Pebble Beach shawlette that I want to knit out of my prepared Lester Longwool. So that kind of sits in the back of my mind as I get the yarn ready. But then I saw her pattern come out. It's a shawl. can't remember the name. I will look it up. And it has like a lace mesh panel and then like a garter panel or a garter shawl. And I think I'm going to knit that with the Icelandic singles and my skein of fingering Cornish tin. So I don't know what made me think of that. I think it's just that there's a number of Helen Stewart patterns that I want to knit and I haven't gotten to them yet, and 'tis the season and KnitVent is available now, and so that's that whole tangent. What else do I have? I think that's it. Whew. The fire is kicking off behind me and it's getting really warm in here. Let's see, Upton, Molunkus, Main Island. The other thing that I received as a gift was from Chrissy of the Stitch Together podcast. She gifted me the boat trip cowl, and this is a lace cowl. I like the shape of it. It's almost like a capelet that comes down over your shoulders. And she and I were having a discourse once she sent this to me, and I have a number of friends that have designed shawls and other patterns, and I haven't gotten to them yet. And I was thinking of making a January kind of a focused attempt at knitting the patterns that have been gifted from friends and designed by friends, and potentially even with yarn spun by myself, which I kind of like the idea. So is that going to be helpful at all? So there's Chrissy, and there's the boat trip cowl. So thank you so much for that, for sending that along to me and making that part of my January cast on. The other thing that I got, the other patterns I bought recently, is Karina Westerman is doing a little fun kind of knit Advent discount between the 17th, I believe, and the 24th, and she's giving a percentage off the cost of her patterns. And so every day on Instagram she posts what the pattern is, and so you need to follow her on Instagram. But I recently bought Hoxton, which I've been wanting to knit for a long time, and even before I knew this was all happening, I bought her pattern Mayhe, which Brit Yarn is knitting, or may have finished, I don't know. I'm going to knit that out of St. Kilda Blacker, which is Hebridean, Soya, and Shetland lace yarn. So I thought that would be perfect. So I bought this pattern, these mittens. They're called Lindgren. And I was thinking of using Kate Davies' buccal yarn. So they've got pattern work, snowflakes, and they're in a really fun color palette of blue and red and white. And Carrie says that they take their name and inspiration from Swedish children's author Astrid Lindgren, whose work lit up my childhood. So they have a lot of Scandinavian overtones, and they just really appealed to my eye. So I picked that up. And then I also picked up for acquisitions from Carrie. Big admirer of her work and her, not only just her design work, but also her thought about the craft and landscape, and just kind of a very well-rounded way of looking at the making world. I got the Mayhe, which is just a lace, kind of a geometric lace shawl, and reminiscent of Hap construction, I believe. So I got that, and then Hoxton, which I know it doesn't always work to show you with the iPad on here, but I'm going to give it a try. So Hoxton is from her Doggerland collection, and I knit Wedbeck from that collection. And this is another lace shawl, and it was knit with the Island Wool Company. So, and here's an example of that. So anyway, got that, and let me see if I can just quickly find Helen Stewart for you and give you that name. So I love knitting that gray sweater, but when I saw those mittens from Carrie and was knitting on that cowl, and I just, I was like, I just want to spice it up a little bit. And I wanted to go through my yarn and pick out some colors and just have something a little bit more, quote unquote, manageable. Not that the sweater isn't manageable because it's just round and round, but something that I can finish and have ready to go. And so, and that was how I felt too about this particular pattern from Helen Stewart, which is the Winter Wander Shawl. And I think it will lend itself to some nice long wool. And you can see why. It's got some fantastic drape. And I don't know if you can hear the water hissing in the background. Silence is okay. Here it is. So you can see there's a lace mesh panel, and that's going to be the Icelandic singles, which is gray, and then I have the Peregrine green, I think, which will be the larger panel. So great. So I think that's what I got for acquisitions. Well, for fiber acquisitions. So I'm going to go on to the Shackleton. So the Shackleton is a craft along, and it primarily focuses on an epic experience for you in the crafting world. So we have a lot of people knitting lace, charts, designing sweaters, knitting their first sweater, preparing a fleece from raw to finished yarn to designed project. We have a lot of different types of approaches. We have somebody who's interested in weaving their own cloth to make their own clothes, so they're doing some sewing and designing that way. So Ernest Shackleton was a South Pole explorer on the Endurance, and his whole thing, and the reason I kind of have admired him, is they had a pretty epic journey. They were supposed to cross Antarctica, the first trans-Antarctic crossing, but their boat, the Endurance, got stuck on the ice, ultimately sunk, left them stranded, and they survived. All of the men, every single man, made it home over varying amounts of time. They spent a number of weeks in an open lifeboat in the sea ice in South Pole. I mean, I don't know, it just gives me the chills. There's so many great stories. I've always been a fan of kind of Arctic and pole exploration. We have Admiral Perry from Maine. The Perry Museum in Bowdoin was the first date with my husband. He's also a big polar and expedition admirer. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just the extremeness of those areas, and the landscape of the ice. But anyway, so Shackleton, we've picked him because we know the outcome. He returns with all his men. So everybody participating will be successful. We know we're all going to get back together. And the chatter in that thread has been awesome. So thank you so much for keeping up that discourse and conversation about the work that you're doing and boosting other people's morale and being a resource. It's been great. Last time I did the morale boost, and I gave away a pattern, and Kimbuktu won, and she's paying it forward by offering the next morale boost. So I will be drawing for that at the beginning of January. I draw from the chatter thread. So if it's me, I'll just redraw. So Kimbuktu will be participating. Well, she'll be our next sponsor, our next ration of rum, or grog, or they used to have the bursar, the quartermaster. She'll be taking care of that for us. What will be our next treat? So, but let me tell you a little bit about where Shackleton is right now. So the Endurance left under steam and sailed to the southeast. So we're thinking that this is right around December 5th. December 5th, 1914. The course was laid to clear them of the coastline of South Georgia and then south of South Thule Sandwich Group. On December 6th, they passed two bergs, several growlers, and numerous lumps of ice. 15 miles north of Sanders Island, the Endurance was confronted by a belt of heavy pack ice. half a mile broad, extending north and south. The noon latitude had been 57 degrees, 26. I can never read those correctly. I know. Every time I do something with Shackleton, some nautical pronunciation comes up or some piece of, lingo, and I know that Upton Yarns is out there gnashing her teeth as I muscle my way through it. For those of you who don't know, Upton Yarns, Sarah is an engineer on a boat and a prolific sailor and done all sorts of work on the ocean, so I'm sure this is just making her mad. Anyway, this left Shackleton uneasy, his position, finding pack ice so far north. The first encounter was only a portent of things to come. The situation became dangerous that night as they pushed into the pack in the hope of reaching open water beyond. Unfortunately, they found themselves after dark in a pool which grew smaller and smaller. The ice ground against the ship in a heavy swell as Shackleton and Worsley remained on deck all night in an attempt to dodge the pack. It was early in the morning before the Endurance was able to get clear. They went east to find better ice and 5 hours later succeeded in rounding the packs. Sails were once again set. Shackleton wrote of the ice, quote, "As the pack gets closer, the congested areas grow larger and the parts are jammed harder until it becomes closer pack. Where the parts do not fit closely, there is, of course, open water, which freezes over in a few hours after giving off volumes of frost smoke. In obedience to renewed pressure, this young ice rafts, thus forming double thickness of a toffee-like consistency. The opposing edges of heavy floes rear up in slow and almost silent conflict, till high hedgerows are formed round each part of the puzzle. All through the winter, the drifting pack changes, grows by freezing, thickens by rafting, and corrugates by pressure. By early January, they had shifted only a few miles further south. Frustration of the crew members was relieved on January 5th as a football game was played on the ice. Everyone was having fun till the ship's captain, Frank Worsley, fell through rotten ice and had to be rescued. Another perceived problem was the killer whales. Spotting a seal, the creatures would dive to great depths and then smash through the ice, seizing the seal in its mouth. The expedition found a hole 25 feet in diameter that had been created by a killer whale. As photographer Frank Hurley took a dog team over the thin ice, he would hear whales blowing behind him. He would quickly dash for solid, thick ice with no need to shout much and swing the lash. The whip of terror had cracked over their heads as they flew before it. The whales behind broke through the thin ice as though it were tissue paper, and I fancy were so staggered by the strange sight that met their eyes that for a moment they hesitated. Had they gone ahead and attacked us in front, our chances of escape would have been slim indeed. Never in my life have I looked upon more loathsome creatures. So, January, kind of intense. It's only going to get worse for them, unfortunately. Such an interesting concept, the whales coming up through the ice, that you can hear the blowing. And I love nature and wildlife, and David Attenborough is my hero and I love studying it, but I do just get a really delicious sense of fear when I think about the power of what is out there and quote unquote underneath. So I've always been fascinated with predators. I don't like to watch, I really don't like to watch the Blue Planet killer whale one. But yeah, leopard seals, orcas, just that kind of what lies beneath. It's just, I like the little bit of chill we get there. No pun intended. So that's Shackleton. Just a little fun story. I'm getting that off a website called southpoleexploration.org or something. I have linked it before, and it really just catalogs his expeditions and a number of other explorers' expeditions. So I've had another little present in the mail that came, and I wanted to share it with you because I thought it was such a great idea. First of all, a dear friend of Yarns at Yin Who podcast, Sarah, she sent along just a little Christmas glad tidings and hello, and I got this little guy. So got some nice long locks there. So he's hanging out with my mice and my nutcrackers. And she made these needle keepers. And I'm going to talk a little bit about embroidery. But this has been great because I usually, when I'm not using a needle, but I'm still working with another needle, I'll stick it in the cushion, and then I'll forget about it or something, and that's just, and my husband doesn't always appreciate that. So this has been great. So I can just tuck it right in here and everything's together. So this is a Rebecca Rehnquist inspiration, I believe. And it's so that you can thread a number of your embroidery needles, and have them ready to go. Am I losing my light a little bit? The clouds are shifting. There's like passing flurries and such. So anyway, so this has come in really handy as I've done my handwork. Those of you may know who follow me on Instagram, I make these ornaments every year. And I really wish I made them throughout the year, but for some reason I tend to have this big surge of creative embroidery that happens right around the end of October. Every year I pick a new template. This year I did a bear. I've done stars and birds and Martishka dolls and hearts. So I don't know what next year will be, but I really love the way these bears turned out. And simply, it's 2 pieces of felt. I stuff it with my sheep's wool. I do the blanket stitch, and then just a series of chain stitches and daisy stitches and beads. And then what I do add is I use these shank buttons I found on Etsy to cover the knot of the ribbon. And I've been adding these charms. So like there's a little heart there, just for a little added fun and flair. Let's see. Oh, I forgot an acquisition. I got from Upton Yarns, and I did a giveaway on Instagram, her engineer arm warmer kit. And her husband designed this, and then Sarah carved and block printed the bags herself. And the engineer arm warmers are a long, just as you say, arm warmer with open mitts that she designed based on some cliffs in Alaska. And she also did it so that you comes with a die, you roll the die and you set your pattern that way. And you have a couple little fun accent colors. Because predominantly, this is the color palette. Just kind of, this is loam and bark. Those are dark browns and varying shades of browns. And then there's a little bit of this pretty pine green, and then this lichen green, which is kind of like a real, like, I'm not sure, I guess I don't want to use the word chartreuse, but it's more on that bright green. So anyway, that giveaway is still going on if I get this loaded in time, but you can go check it out. And all the directions are on my Instagram feed. But we're giving away this, and it comes with the pattern. And it also includes this fun stitch marker from Blue Dog Woolies. So anyway, if you happen to see this and you want to go check out and see if the contest is still running on the Gramaway, please do. But I will draw for this soon. I got a kit as well, and hopefully we'll be casting that on. This is a Romney Cotswold yarn procured from the state of Maine, and I'm not sure if it's a 3-ply. I think it's a 3-ply, but you can double check that. So yeah, so that was really fun. There's a lot of good stuff going on with friends and their work. Sewing. So I have been sewing a lot for children. My niece and my nephew. I did pajamas. I did my niece a ice cream dress by Oliver and S. And I just finished my second one. Here it is. This is the ice cream dress pattern. This is the 6 to 12 month. I got the fabric from Joann's, and this is for a friend they had a baby 6 months ago. So you sew this yoke. It's kind of faced. You can see that, and then the bottom is faced as well. So that's just finished, and now I kind of feel like I can do my wardrobe-y thing. I am wearing the first Alabama Shannon tunic that I sewed, and I love it. And I have a second one that I've been able to work with and get the fit a little bit better. This fit is fine for summer, I think. I mean, I can get it on over this t-shirt and get it off. But I made the second version a little bit, this is a prototype, a little bit bigger. I adjusted my seams and I expanded the pattern a little bit, so I added about an inch of ease in the chest. So, and this is the tank version of that. So I just need to finish all of the arm openings and hemmet, and yeah, so I'll have kind of two sizes I can do. I think like if I just wanted to wear this without a t-shirt underneath, but just as a tank, I could do that easily. But if I wanted to be able to layer it a little bit more, then I think it needs to be more of this size. And last but not least, I have a sewing acquisition. I purchased some material which I could not resist. I plan to make, somewhere here, the schoolhouse tunic. I thought I brought it down. Oh, there it is. Oh. The tree and I are fighting for space. This is by Sew Liberated Patterns, and it comes in a shirt length as well. So I purchased this material because how couldn't I? I mean, I know that the sheep are thematically appropriate for me, but really the hairy coos, the Highland cattle, and the pig. Anyway, so I got that, and I got a coordinating fabric in case I don't have enough. So I thought I would do the top, the yoke in that, and then the bottom skirt part of the tunic in this. I don't know. There you go. This is Lewis and Irene. This is Country Life. I got it off of Etsy. I wasn't able to find it on a distributor site. And I got it from Mona Fabrics in Seattle. And I haven't been able to find this. I'm like so tempted to buy another yard of it though and make a bag. Which I might do as soon as I get off, because I think that having like a tote bag would be fun out of the scraps from this. I don't think I'll have many scraps left from that, but. So I have had more fabric acquisitions, but it's been so long that there's so many. So as I sew with them, you can see them. It's been really great though. I've been working, I've been contacting Clementine in Maine. She's in Rockland. She is a friend, and she has been able to send me stuff right from her shop, and she's online, so you can check her out. So I've been able to do stuff with her. She also carries Nash Island yarn. So if you're looking for Nash Island, you can certainly give her a call. She can send pictures of colorways, and I believe Janie has a new website for Starcroft, so check that out too if you're interested in procuring any of that. But you can certainly do it through Clementine. So last but not least, I did want to just mention that Knit British contacted me about doing some reviews, and I will be doing those on the next podcast. They're pattern collections by Woolly Wormhead and Katja Frankel, and she also generously offered to do a morale boost for the Shackleton along. So I'm really happy that that has come forward, so we can continue to keep everybody going. If you're interested in doing or have a product that you'd like to extend to the Shackleton morale boost, please let me know. If you have products that you'd like reviewed, I'd be happy to do that as well. So this was really my first opportunity when somebody reached out, and I'm looking forward to it. So I think with that, the snow has stopped. I need to think about packing my vehicle and get ready to head. So with that, I'm going to say a fond farewell and glad tidings to you. Happy New Year and merry and bright. So I'll talk to you soon.